You probably have one client right now that looks important on paper. It's a big revenue. It's a long relationship. It might even be your biggest account. There's a reasonable chance that client is one of your least profitable. And there's an equally reasonable chance that a much smaller client, one you spend less energy on, is generating a much better return than any of your top 10 revenue list. Today, I'm going to show you why that happens and how to figure out which situation you're in. Last week, I covered how to calculate project profitability. That calculation tells you whether a specific piece of work made money or not. It does not tell you whether the client relationship made money. In most firms, those two numbers are not the same, and here's why. Most clients are not a single project. In fact, you'd hope they wouldn't be. They're a relationship that runs across multiple projects over time. And alongside those projects, your team spends a significant amount of time that never gets attributable to any job. These are things like briefing calls, relationship meetings, proposals for work that don't convert. These are like things like scope discussions and time that managers spend on the account between commissions. That time is real, and it does have a cost. But in most firms, it gets pulled into a general overhead or business development rather than tracked against the client who generated it. The result is that your project margins look cleaner than the underlying client relationship actually is. Look, in my early career, when we were working with new acquisitions at Kantar, we ran it into this problem at scale. The biz dev cost, or the business development cost, for major accounts was lumped into one single large bucket. It looked manageable at the firm level, but when we started to understand which clients were consuming that resource, the picture was very different. The fix was actually really straightforward, but had a significant impact. So for each client, we created two non-billable jobs. One was for client-specific business development, and the other was for general non-billable client administration. Every hour that the team spent on that client, whether it was billable or not, was logged to the client. That one change would allow us to split what had been a single aggregate number into a clear view by client. And for the first time, we could see which clients were consuming far more resources than the profits they brought in. Some of the answers were not what the leadership team expected. And that gap is what I want to help you close today. To calculate client profitability properly, you need four things. Number one is project revenue and project costs across the full relationship. Add up the margin across every single project you deliver for that client for the period. Use fully loaded costs, direct labor, cost rates, third-party spend, and allocated overhead. That gives you the project-level starting point. The second thing you need to do is make sure you account for non-billable time. This is a number many firms, especially small to medium-sized businesses, the ones I was talking to you about earlier, don't capture. This is usually where the biggest surprises are. Track the time your firm spends on that client outside of the live projects, and it costs it at the same labor rates you apply to your project work. The hours are real, so leaving them out makes the client look more profitable than it really is. The third and fourth are a bit more abstract, but they're really important. The third one is discounting and rate history. What rate has this client paid relative to your standard rates? If you've given them a discounted pricing and that has been compounding over years and years, that differential is a cost to the relationship. It's not cash leaving the business, but it's revenue that was never earned. And fourth is the payment behavior. If a client consistently pays 90 days on a 30-day payment terms, the money you're owed is sitting in their bank account and not yours. But you still have to cover payroll. You may be drawing on a credit line to do it, and that has a direct cost. The most disciplined client, the one who pays on time every month, is worth more to your business than their margin alone suggests. The one who always pays late is worth less. And that difference does belong in the calculation. So when you combine all those four elements I've just spoken about, you get the true economics of the relationship, not just whether the individual projects covered their costs. Here's a simple way to see what this analysis surfaces. Take your clients and rank them by revenue. Now rank the same clients by true profitability using the fully loaded calculation that we've just spoken about. Not profit margin, the full relationship number. In most firms, those two lists look different. The order changes, and sometimes significantly. That is the finding that tends to hit business owners the hardest. The client at the top of the revenue list is not always at the top of the profitability list. A large, long-term client with complex scope, discounted rates, slow payments, and lots of extra effort can actually earn you less profit than a smaller, straightforward client. Revenue tells you who your biggest clients are, and profitability tells you which the best clients are. In most firms, those numbers are not the same. Once you can see the full picture, each client relationship falls into one of three categories. Number one is grow. These are the clients with strong margins, clean delivery, and room to expand. These are the ones worth more investment, more relationship time, more proactive conversations about what they need next. Your business should be built around these types of clients. The second group is the repair clients. The clients where the margin is lower than it should be, but where the cause is identifiable. A rate that needs to be adjusted. A scope management conversation has been avoided. Account overhead that could be reduced with better processes. These are fixable problems if you know where to look. And the third group is the reconsider group, the one nobody likes to talk about. Some client relationships are just structurally unprofitable. They're not going to get any better. The rate has been the same for years and it's not moving. Out-of-scope work is expected and demanded by the client. The account overhead is high because the client works that way, not because of a fixable process. These relationships are often the oldest ones, the ones that feel like they define the firm. They're the anchor clients. Some of them are quietly taking more from your business than they return. That doesn't mean that they need to exit tomorrow, but it does mean you need to have a clear-eyed conversation about what the relationship needs to look like going forward. And most firms avoid that conversation because the revenue feels too important to risk. But the margin's already gone. You're just choosing not to look at it. The progression across the last 3 weeks is intentional. Utilization, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, tells you how your people's time is being used. And of course, I can't help but mention realization, which is how much of that time is actually being billed to the client. Then you've got project profitability, which we spoke about last week, and tells you whether clients' individual pieces of work cover their costs. And finally, this week, we talk about client profitability, which tells you whether the relationship those projects sit inside are worth sustaining and growing. Each layer shows you something the previous one doesn't. And next week, I'm covering where the profit disappears after it's been earned. You have a solid utilization, profitable projects, good client relationships, and still watch your net margin drift downwards year after year. There are specific identifiable reasons that happens. I'll walk you through each one of them. And if this is useful, please do like, comment, and please do subscribe. Thank you.